Hello and welcome to Sugar Glider Diaries. I'm Kimberly. I just wanted to do a video that was requested by one of my followers that has been so supportive and so encouraging while I'm starting my channel. She's going to be getting her sugar gliders in a week and wanted me to do a video specifically about what to do when you very first get your sugar gliders. A lot of my videos on my channel have to do with how to further your bond with your sugar gliders once you've already established kind of a base of a bond, because that's the stage that I'm at in my journey. But she's about to get her first pair of sugar gliders, so I wanted to do a video for those of you who are brand new or haven't even actually gotten your gliders yet, and just based off of just my experience and the research that I've done, keeping in mind that I only have 3 sugar gliders, so my experience is limited. I'm not a breeder. I've done a lot of research. I've had sugar gliders for 3 years, but please, if you feel like something that I recommend is not something that you want to do, feel free not to take that advice. Just take it for what it is, from just somebody that's speaking from personal experience and giving advice to a friend. So my sugar gliders are in here. You can poke their heads out and say hi. There's Balky Boy. So I have some notes, so if I look down, that's why I'm looking down at my notes. I'm trying to stay on topic and try to make this as short as possible. So when you first get your sugar gliders, the biggest things I would say, and things that I wish that I had done differently, are listen to what your sugar gliders are saying to you as far as what their cues are, and to calm yourself. When I very first got them, I was really excited and probably a little overeager, and got a little bit discouraged because things were not progressing as fast as I wanted them to. I would just say, before you even get sugar gliders, just kind of check your expectations at the door. Realize that every sugar glider is different. Some are going to bond within days, some are going to take years. And I think that when I heard that from other people as I was preparing to get gliders, I thought, well, that's not going to be me. Mine are going to bond in days. Just being honest, I think we all kind of think that our case is probably going to be best case scenario, or at least I did. And so I was a little unprepared for how I was going to feel when I got them, and how that was going to affect the bonding process. The other big thing is figuring out what is going to work well for your lifestyle as far as what your habits with them are going to be. Are you going to be somebody that spends daily time with them in a tent, in the mosquito net tents where they can climb around and jump off of you? Are you going to train them to be bra babies, where they sleep in a pouch or in your shirt? Or if you're a guy, I know a lot of times people do like hoodie training where they sleep in. I did that too, where I would put a sweatshirt or something with a hood on backwards and they slept in like a little open thing right here. Or some people are comfortable with them being on their back. That makes me a little nervous just personally with my personality, but that's something that a lot of people do. Are you going to be able to spend an hour a day with them? Are you going to be able to spend 5 hours a day with them? Are you going to be able to spend 20 minutes a day with them? And what's that time going to look like? I really encourage you to brainstorm that and get a little bit of kind of what your goal is, so that you don't unintentionally go away from your goal. I have another video about my expectations versus reality, and another video also on when I first got my gliders where I go into that more. So I won't talk about that a lot, but just kind of think that through, so that as you are doing more research and growing in your bond, you know where you're headed in your direction for how you're going to interact with your gliders. So when you first get them, I would say let them settle in their cage, in their new environment, for a couple days at least. Every glider is going to be different. Some might seem super friendly and social and seem like they want to be with you. If they're acting like they want to be with you, then let them be with you. But most gliders are going to be nervous. They might not eat as much of their food as they normally do. So if you put your food in there, I know mine didn't, you put your recommended amount of your food in there that your breeder tells you to put in there, and they don't eat hardly any of it the first night or two, that's totally normal. They're nervous. My breeder suggested that if their poop is a little bit runny, Not like diarrhea, don't get me wrong, not like, hey, take them to a vet, but just a little bit softer than normal. That should be like a little grain of chocolate rice. And if you squish it, it should be soft, but it shouldn't be much softer than that. It should be like a solid poop. If it's softer than that, then they suggested, because just transitioning can be a little nerve-wracking, that giving them a little bit of just plain white bread, not a lot, just a little bit, might help kind of settle their stomach. That's just what my breeder recommended. If you don't want to do that, that's totally fine. I did, and it seemed to work great, but if you want to do something different, totally okay. So they may not eat a whole lot for the first couple days. Let's see. I also suggest sitting by the cage and reading to them. This is something I did not do, but I think it would be really helpful, especially if they're nervous. So I would do this twice a day. I would sit by their cage and read during the daytime when they're sleeping, so they get used to hearing your voice when they're sleeping, because they are if they're nervous, they're probably going to wake up enough and they'll be in their pouch. They might crab a little bit at you. But if you just read, like pick some, whatever book you're reading at the time, you could read that out loud, or a children's book or whatever. Read to them for 30 minutes a day during the day while they're sleeping. And then also I would sit by their cage at nighttime when they're playing and just sit there quietly for maybe the majority of the time. But then part of it, talk to them or read as well. So they get to hear your voice, and they know that when they hear your voice and they smell you, good things are only good things are going to happen. So offer them treats through the bars. If they don't take it, no problem. Don't stress out about it. But if they take it, be very patient. They might come up to you and then back off, and then come up to you and back off. That's okay. That's totally normal. Some might take it from you right away. I wouldn't try to pet them for the first couple days. Not right now, honey. I'm doing a video. I know, and I'll get it going for you in a minute. Sorry, mom life. Okay, so if they take the treat from you, great. If they don't worry about it. But I would offer them treats so they associate you with good things. Once they are past that first couple day transition period, if they're lunging and crabbing and making a lot of noise when you're near the cage still, I would not move on to the next level until they're not doing that. If they're only crabbing from their pouch, they might just be a little bit pouch protective, and they might be a little extra nervous. But if they're crabbing and lunging and trying to get at you when they're out of their pouch, I would not move on to the next stage until they're done doing that. So that might take, depending on the glider, it might take weeks of you just consistently sitting by the cage, offering treats, talking, reading books, just being there. So they know that you're not there to hurt them, and they get over that fear. Once they are to that stage where they're maybe crabbing a little bit from the pouch, but definitely not lunging or trying to bite or get at you through the bars, then you could move on to a bonding bag that's zippered. Oh, I'm sorry. Also back up. While you're doing that bonding process in the first couple days, putting in little pieces of fleece, anti-pill fleece that you have slept with or that has been by your skin. So if you sleep with these at night, like in your bra or in your shirt or whatever, and then it'll smell like you if you wear it for a day or two, and then put that in their sleeping pouch, and then put a fresh one that still smells like you in their sleeping pouch. Then they'll also associate your smell with the comfort of being safe. So I would continue to do that as long as you can, at least until you're bra training or they're associating your smell while they're sleeping. It's just never, you don't even have to stop doing that. If you want to just always do it, it's a good way for them to continually smell you while they're sleeping and in their comfort zone. So after you're ready for the next level of the bonding process, or the comfort, that getting them comfortable with you process, then you could move on to a bonding pouch that's zippered. I have them out because I want to show you. So there's two ways I would recommend to get them into a zippered bonding pouch. And there's all different kinds of zippered bonding pouches. Please do not buy one from Amazon or Exotic Nutrition. They'll say that they're for sugar gliders, but they're not. I'm going to show you, actually, I wasn't going to, but now that I'm mentioning that, I will show you mine that I got from there. just as a reference for what not to get and the difference. So just one second. Okay, sorry for that. So this is the one that I got from Exotic Nutrition, and I used it for a long time before I realized that it wasn't safe. But do you see how on the inside you can see the stitching? You can see where it's not double fleece lined. I liked it because it was so thin, and this is actually what inspired kind of the thinness part of it I liked. And that's what inspired my my no-sew bra bonding pouch that I have lots of videos on that I won't spend extra time on, but I like the thinness of it. But for safety, what you actually want is something like this. I have quite a few different versions, but it's double fleece, it's double lined. So see how there's no, you can't see any stitching. There's no seam. You don't want there to be any seam. So be really careful about what vendors you choose to get your stuff from. I had to learn the hard way on that. I have quite a few different ones. But if you have one that is safe for them to, that it's safe to hang in the cage while supervised, I would not hang it in the cage if you're not there able to watch and make sure they're not going to get caught. Because even like this is not, it's not designed to go in the cage. You know, it has a material on the front that some would say is okay and some might not. So I'm not going to be controversial and say it's fine. I'll say better safe than sorry. But you could hang this, you could take away all their sleeping pouches right before. So if you get up, sorry, let me back up. I got a little excited there. So you could do two things. You could pop them out of their sleeping bag into the cage, get rid of all their sleeping bags, and then hang this inside the cage. So this is the only thing they have to go to sleep in. And then once they're in here and settled while you're supervising, then you could open the cage and zip it up and they're in their bonding bag. That would be option number one. Option number two would be to let them settle in their normal sleeping pouch and then should pop them into the bag. I would suggest using a bag that has a pretty wide opening, just for the ease of this. There's these, there's also, I have ones that are like, it's like a scarf. This would not be good for them to climb on. Their nails could get, this is not meant to be in the cage, so I wouldn't put that in there. So see how it's a nice wide opening. This one is like meant to be a bra bonding one. See how that opening is small? I wouldn't use that. So you don't want to reach in and grab. I've talked about that in other videos as well. But if you just take your bag and these guys are, I mean, it's not exactly the same situation because obviously these guys are used to this, but just for demonstration purposes, you would take one and you just push the bottom of the bag that they're in, push it until they go into the next bag. And if you can put something in here that smells like them, like if they have those little sleeping blankets, if you can put that in there, that's even better because then they're going to be more likely to want to go in there because they'll recognize their smell. And then just kind of close it like this, let them settle in the bottom, and then make sure there's no tails or toes sticking out, and then slowly zipper it closed. Mine are going, what's happening? Why aren't we going in our bra pouch? Because they're not used to this, but that's okay. I still put them in there, you know, for vet visits or, you know, that kind of thing. If I'm going to go out of the house, I always have them zippered. I know a lot of people feel really comfortable keeping theirs in their bra or in their pocket and going out of the house. I'm a little bit too nervous for that. When I very first got my gliders, I heard a horror story about a lady that always carried hers in her pocket of her sweatshirt. And she went to Walmart and halfway through her trip in Walmart realized it wasn't there. Somehow it had gotten out. She didn't realize it and it was lost forever. I followed the thread for days to figure out if they ever found it, and she never found it. So just stuff like that. I just better safe than sorry. I think if they're out of the house, they should always be zippered. That's just my personal opinion. I talked a little bit about if they're crabbing at you from the pouch. If that is like excessive and you would like that to stop, you may want to consider using an open environment pouch, which is something like this, where it's not, so like this would hang, this has 3 hanging spots. And so they can kind of see, I would hang it lower in the cage so they can see you. They can look up and see you coming. I also have used these, it's kind of more like a hammock, like a multi-layer hammock style. And I put little blankets in there so they can kind of cover themselves up, but they can see you coming. So if they're pouch protective, if the only time they crab at you is when they're in their pouch, and mine still crab a little bit from the pouch, I'm not really worried about it. They're not lunging at me, they're social. But if you don't want them to do that, or they're doing that excessively, you could use something like this. This is an open environment pouch. The problem with it, with what I just showed you, is you can't really pop them out, because if you take this out, there's too many places for them to escape. So that wouldn't work. You'd have to get rid of this, put the zippered bonding pouch in the cage, and then watch them get in it. Don't let them do it unsupervised, because bonding zippered pouches are not designed to be left in the cage. But then once they settle, so it takes a little bit of time because you have to sit there and watch them. And I don't know about you, but I don't have a lot of time to do that. So that's why I went to the, popping them in. I did have a couple times where I went to do that, and my most nervous one, before I could quite get it zippered, jumped onto the cage on the outside. I was able to get him and get him back in the bag. But what I would recommend when you're first working with them is to have some big pieces of fleece so that you don't have to grab them with your hand. You could, and this one might even be a little bit too big, but something like maybe this size, it's like a bib. So that you could, if this was the glider, you could kind of grab and then pull them off of the cage. Or if they fell on the ground or whatever, you could put this on them, maybe the bigger piece for that, put this on them and then scoop them up that way, so that you're not risking getting attacked with your hand when you're very first bonding. If I drop mine or mine go on the cage, I can easily direct them with my hands now and they don't bite me. But when you're very first getting started, I understand it's really nerve-wracking, and that might not, a piece of fleece might be better. Okay, this is getting to be a long video. I'm going to try to move along here. So after you've done the zippered bonding bag for however long you feel is necessary, if you feel like your gliders are starting to get, I would leave it zippered, just have them on you for a couple days maybe. Every glider is different, every person's different, so I don't even like to use day parameters. If they seem to hate it, then definitely don't open it up and reach your hand in and try to bond with them. But if they are okay with it and they're settling fine, then I would unzip it, offer treats, let them see you, talk to them. Then they'll probably settle and go back to sleep. And then once they're back to sleep, I would put your hand in and just pet them on the back of the head. And then as you are more and more comfortable, leave your hand in the bag so that they can just kind of snuggle with you. I have one glider that does not like me to pet underneath her chin at all. I've seen, unless she's like super, super sound asleep, she'll still bite me if I do that. So you really have to learn your glider's preferences. So to play it safe, pet them on the back, pet them on the top of the head, and then be done for that day. And do that consistently. Once you've done that consistently and you are comfortable and you feel like your gliders would be comfortable, then maybe move on to the no-sew bra training pouch that I have offered videos for. If you want to skip the zippered pouch altogether, feel free to do so. If you feel like, hey, I wanted to go into a safe room where if my glider does jump off of me or does kind of escape, they'll still be safe, then that's fine. Try doing the videos that I have on the no-sew bra pouch and go right to that. I have people that message me and say, hey, I just got my gliders and I already have them bra trained because I use this. Great. So you can really go at whatever pace you feel like your gliders are ready to do and you feel like you're comfortable to do. Because if you're not comfortable, the gliders are going to sense that and they're not going to be comfortable and you're going to have a hard time. They can sense your tension, which is difficult for me because I'm kind of a high stress type A type of a personality. So that's why I went from leaving them in the cage to the zippered pouch and then eventually went to the bra training pouch. But if you want to skip that step and go right to the bra training pouch, I have lots of videos on that. So I won't talk about that on here. I'll just put a link up above to those videos. So I hope this was helpful. I think a biggest thing is if they can see where they are and they're choosing to go with you, that's a positive sign. You know, so you've seen in my other videos, or you might not have, but maybe you will if you watch them. I pop them out of my bonding bag, or sorry, not my bonding bag, their sleeping pouch. They go on me and then they go in my shirt, because then I know that they know they're not, I didn't trick them into getting in my shirt. They know that that's where they want to go. That's their safe place. So that's the goal, is that eventually you would train them to where they want to be with you. That's that level of bond that you're trying to move up. I have another video on levels of bonding, and that's one of the higher levels, is where they want to be with you. They see you as your safe place and they love you. When you very, very first get them, they're going to start off with, I'm either afraid of you or I tolerate you. And then you want to move that up. So I hope that was helpful. Feel free to subscribe if this was helpful for you, or you think it might be helpful for somebody else. Please share it with somebody, or maybe save it so that if somebody asks for advice, you can just tag this page, this video, and send them that link. Please give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I'll talk to you later.